Hey, how's everybody doing? This is our conclusion to the four-part series on male sexual abuse, which it ended up being 4.5 or 5 because I ran over time on the last one. But today we're going to be talking about the solution. In part 3, I talked about willingness and acceptance and forgiveness, and those are pretty much the things that will at least it helped me put my life back together. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It does take time. I've been at this now for 21, 22 years. I think the first couple years was the most difficult part. Then after that, it kind of smoothed out. But it's still something that, I always keep working on, because sometimes I'll find myself, moving back to my introverted side, and, it's okay. I like that side of me. But at the same time, I have to balance that out with the extroverted side. I mean, I still need to get out, be around people, do all those things, instead of just staying to myself and being by myself. You just always have to keep watching that. But I also talked about in the last video, about forgiveness. And once I realized that my brother was sick, and that it didn't matter whether it was me or somebody else there, because you got to remember that we don't take it personal. We really have to learn that it wasn't about me as a person. It wasn't about Eugene being a bad person and that's why it happened. That's not the case. We were just merely subjects there for them to vent their anger and their sickness, and that's important. It's not about us and about whether or not we're a good person, a bad person, whether God loves us, He doesn't love us, because He does. We just I'm gonna say just happen to be that object, which I believe anyway that there's even a reason that we were actually chosen. At least I know for my life anyway. There was a reason, and hopefully by I'm living up to those reasons when I do these recordings, so that I can help the next person. But forgiving that person, I mean really forgiving them. I wrote a couple letters to my brother, telling him that I forgave him. I still have never heard back from him from those letters. Those letters were written 15, 20 years ago. But I understand that he hasn't forgiven himself, and there's nothing I can do about that. And that really is not my issue. That's his issue, because I wrote those letters for me and not for him. And I would suggest anybody, to anybody, do the same. And whether or not you mail them or not, that's something that you and whoever you're talking to, about these issues, that's something that you guys will decide, or it'll be something that you decide. But at least write it out, and put it in a drawer or throw it away. But it's good to at least write it out. But you have to forgive. You can't carry around that hate towards that person, or the anger towards that person, because as long as you have that anger and that hate there, then you can't be refilled with loving things, because there's just not any room inside you for that. And there's no use pouring good clean water into bad water, because even though you pour clean water into bad water, it's still going to be bad water once you mix the two together. So, we really need to try to get that hatred, out of us. And one way of doing that is forgiveness. Forgiving the person. and that's important. Um, and we also talked about acceptance. Accept the fact that that event happened to you. It happened. You cannot go back and change it at this point. All the wishing in the world and the hoping that it didn't happen, it's not going to happen. It actually occurred, and now we just have to figure out a way to move past it. And you can't just say, okay, we're going to move past it, don't worry about it, and keep it moving. That's not going to happen also, too. You have to do some work before you can move past it. Just forgetting about it or trying to bury it, like most people do, or not talk about it, that's not going to work, because you can actually see it in your physical behavior, things that you do or things that you don't do. For me, it kept me from letting other people love me. It kept me from letting people get close to me. I've just seen so many other manifestations of the abuse, come out in our behavior that we just can't forget about it. It's going to show its ugly head in one way or another, in relationships or just a lot of different ways. So we got to deal with it. And if you want somebody, if you want to experience that love and be in a meaningful relationship and all those things, you first need to do something loving for yourself. You have got to love you, just like I had to learn how to love me. And one of the biggest things that I could have done in the beginning to love me was to deal with this. Somebody told me that is the most loving thing that you can do. And it made sense to me. And if I didn't start loving me, then I'm sure not going to let anybody else love me. I had to know what it felt like. I had to know the work that went in to love me. And it was well worth it. Because I can see now, like in my kids, that they're loving kids. I'm definitely more patient because I dealt with those things in the past. So do something loving for yourself today. Start on that road to recovery. It's important, and it will pay off. It'll pay off 2-3 times over, because everything you do, you'll see in every part of your life, how you're a little bit better of a person. So the most loving thing that you can do for yourself is to start talking about this, is to start dealing with this. You are not alone. You will be surprised how many people out there are just like us, and we're starting to see more and more people come forward that have been abused. And the only way that we can keep it going is that more and more people come out and do talk about what happened to them, and we just get better. Now we get better as a person, our communities become better, our families become better, and we get to start that process. And doing so, if that's what it took for us to go through that pain so that we can help so many other people around us, then that should be good enough. It's good enough for me. So the acceptance part, accept where you're at and do something and move forward, so that you can help that next person. And the other part of it is sometimes even before we even get started, I know, like for me, sometimes like when I start a project, I would have already sabotaged the project and I haven't did anything. I'll talk myself out of doing it, or I'll say, well, once I get this in place, then I'll start doing that. Or once I finish, let's say, pay this bill off, then I'll start to go see a therapist. Or next year when whatever it is, I can keep coming up with reasons to put it off or not to do it. Until one day I said, you know what, I just have to do it. I have to be at least willing to do it. And that's the biggest, that's what I'm saying is have the willingness to do it. You know, open that door just a little bit. You know, and once you open that door of willingness just a little bit, you'll be surprised at what can happen. Whatever you believe in, whatever God that you know that you worship, or whatever supreme deity that you have in your life that you believe runs your life or parts of your life, or however it is that you believe, is once you open that door of willingness just a little bit, then that supreme being will creep in and start taking it over from there. You know, start setting up situations for you to share, or you meet somebody else by chance or coincidence, and will give you a chance to share. So once you open up that door for willingness, keep your eyes open, because from my experience anyway, is once that door of willingness is open, then God kind of comes in and starts setting the table for us to become better people. But at least you know you're going to have to take some steps yourself. And faith alone won't do it. I mean, you have to have the faith part, but you also have to do some actions. You know, faith without works is dead. You know, it does require an action by you. You know, I believe in prayer, but prayer alone, you know, won't get it done. You know, prayer coupled with some actions, you know, then you can start to heal. Definitely, then you can start to heal. I hope and pray that this 4 or 5 part series, which it ended up being, helps somebody out there. You know, I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep spreading the word. I'm going to keep doing what I can do. But the biggest thing is I really want you to know that there is a life out there after this abuse. And for me, I'm grateful today that I went through everything that I went through, because without the abuse, I wouldn't be the same person that I am today. And I really like the person that I am today. So today I accept the fact that that's what happened to me as a child. And I'm grateful that that I lived through it, and I'm grateful that I found this new way of life that I have today. So, you know, God bless you all. Start on your path of recovery today. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.